Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another segment, our second installment of Senior Spotlight. I'm super happy to have you here today. Do you mind telling us your name?
My name is Robert Marcello.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Rob. And in fact, here I normally get giving a little bit of an inside scoop, if you will. So I actually met Rob from, I believe it was sports broadcasting, kind of like the first meeting. I was a little bit interested.
Yeah.
I never ended up joining, but I reached out to you. I saw you walking by the library, and I asked about it. So it was just cool to get to know you because you're, you're a senior here, and we'll get into what you do. So, can you tell us what your major is?
I'm a communications major.
Nice. And why did you choose that?
Well, at first I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, so I figured at the time they didn't have a sports broadcasting major, so I figured at the time that would be the best major for me.
Fun fact, actually, they do, I believe, have a
I
sports
know they do
broadcasting
now,
major
yes.
now,
I wish.
Right as you're leaving.
I wish.
So what are you planning on doing with that degree?
So hopefully getting into sports broadcasting. The past couple of years I've done some summer baseball, and now I'm the sports director here currently at WGAO, so hopefully I can continue to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's the biggest thing you've learned from that experience?
Learning how to manage people, I think that's really a big thing. Throughout my time here at Dean, I've been able to manage some people, but to be able to manage a whole department was really important.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of stress. You know, the pros and cons of being a leader, having all that pressure and you all that attention and all that power, what you do with that power. So I think it's such a perplexing topic. Moving on here, can you talk a little bit maybe about how you've grown as an individual throughout your 4 years here at Dean College?
I have. So when I first came here, they didn't allow freshmen on the sports broadcast team, and that was interesting. And then my sophomore year, I joined it. And for the past 3 years, I feel like I've really grown not only as a broadcaster, but as a person and being able to deal with different people.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really important because you keep coming back to the central point, right, of, dealing with people. And that's something in the real world that you're going to have to do. When we talk about life in general, you're going to have to deal with people you like, people you don't like. So I think that's a really important skill. And regardless of the major of any of our viewers may be pursuing, I think that's something you're going to learn, and that's awesome. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier about your after graduation plan. Is there anything else perhaps you want to do?
Hopefully get into more radio. I have a
radio?
sports talk radio show here on Friday nights, and I'd like to get more into that. Maybe start my own radio show somewhere at some radio station, be able to build my way up.
Can you tell us a little bit more about, this radio segment that you have? I've heard about it, but maybe, our viewers haven't heard about it, so.
Yeah, so usually every Friday night I have it. It's between 8 and 9, and I usually have about 1 or 2 guests on each week. I've actually had Brendan Howe on, who's also on DNN as well.
Yes, our sports writer.
Yes, our sports writer. So I've had him on a couple times. I've had Ben Cruz come on. I've had a couple of guests come on. I have Bob Sochi, the video voice of the New England Patriots. I've had him on.
That's awesome.
I've had John Rook on, who actually works here. So I've had a couple of people in the business that know what they are doing for sure.
That's great. So I can tell you're a little bit of like a heavy sports guy, right?
Yes.
If you had to pick one sport and one sports team even, what sports team, why?
Baseball and the Red Sox.
Baseball?
I love baseball. It's my favorite sport, but I love the Patriots as well. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a
Hard
tough
question.
decision. So I'm sorry, the Kraft Sports Group, but I love the Red Sox.
Yeah. Who's your favorite player of like Red Sox history, maybe on the roster right now?
I like David Ortiz.
David Ortiz?
He really kind of started the whole run with the 4 championships in the 21st century. So hopefully he can keep that going.
Yeah, David Ortiz is a legend. I have a friend back at home who is a huge David Ortiz fan, so that's awesome. Moving on here, can you talk about maybe some of the things here you do at Dean? Do you perhaps with the radio you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the news and sports. I'm one of the directors along with Ross Rubin. Ross does a great job, and I'm always able to help him. I've taken the class about 3 or 4 times, so I kind of get the ropes of it by now, but it's always nice to help a young person out and show them the ropes as well.
Yeah. I believe you might have talked about this earlier, but if I'm correct here, I believe you broadcasted at Cape Cod Baseball League?
Yes, so I broadcasted for the Cape Cod Baseball League, so that's the best Division I and some 2 players in the country, and they all come and they play in the summertime, and it's just great baseball, so I really like it.
That's awesome. So, talking about broadcasting here, what was the main thing you learned from that? You talked about managing people. Is there anything else you learned from that particular experience?
I've learned to be a better communicator. You see things as the ways they are, and you got to keep your voice clean for the most part. You always have to have a good voice. You always got to make sure you don't swear on air. That's one of the big things that they teach you there. But besides that, no, I've learned how to be a communicator. I've learned how to call things as they are. There are some times that we have viewers that, comment and say, oh, that wasn't a great call, or, know, one thing you just have to call it the game, and is regardless of what the refs do or what the players do.
Yeah, there's only so much you can control, and your job as a broadcast, whether you're on color or play-by-play, is your job is to like tell a story a little bit. So I think that's something really, really important. You can't get caught up in like, all the emotions of the game and
Definitely cannot.
stuff.
No.
You just got to tell it what it is, and there's going to be bad calls.
Absolutely.
Like in the NFC Championship game, I believe with the Saints and the Rams.
Yep.
It was a horrible call, but
Absolutely.
the announcers there did a great job of keeping it neutral.
They did.
And that's something that I think is super important.
Absolutely.
Moving on here, a couple more questions before we're done here. Who was your biggest inspiration in life?
Biggest inspiration. Well, growing up, I wanted to be like Tom Brady, but then I realized really fast that I couldn't be Tom Brady because I'm not as tall and I'm not as good looking as him. So, that right there alone did enough for me. But I figured, if I can't play it, I might as well just broadcast it. So that's kind of my biggest inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Not all of us can be as athletic as Tom Brady, and he is pretty athletic compared to probably most of us.
Yes.
Actually, fun fact.
Definitely so.
But he's not really athletic for the NFL level. Not in the slightest. That man's slow.
Yes, he is.
Moving on here, what's the biggest thing you've learned in Dean College?
I've learned how to be a part of something. I really think some of that, and growing up, I really wasn't. I wouldn't say I wasn't a part of much, but I'd say that I really wasn't involved as I wanted to be. So that's really something the dean's taught me. There's always something to do here. I never got bored.
That's great. That's great. Last question. Do you have any advice for any underclassmen such as myself? Now, since you're a senior and you have that hindsight of all 4 years, what would you say?
Get involved early. I'd say that. Getting involved early allows you to be able to grow as a person, and I really think that's important.
Yeah, it's not the classes, in my opinion, that college can really shape you. They're awesome, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's the experiences, the hand-on experience, the connections you make. Because you can just
Absolutely.
take an online class, but being here in person, creating friends, establishing relationships, networking, it's just what makes Dean College and college in general such a great experience.
Absolutely.
But that's all the time we have here today. I'd like to thank Rob Marcello for being on here today.
Thank you for having me on.
It was an honor. Having maybe one of the first people here I met at Dean, and now we're slowly wrapping up the year with you on here. So a little bit of circle of life. So thank you guys so much. Have a good one.